I want to introduce you to my guest, who is King Lion. King Lion, are you there?
Good afternoon, DJ LP. Indeed, I am. How are you?
Perfect. I am fine. I am Irie. I am
Hey,
Irie.
way
it's
to be.
it is, isn't it? I don't think people are very Irie nowadays. So yes, I'm keeping it going. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
As you know, and I think as our audience know by now, I talk about subjects relating to dying, death, and grief. And when we first started to speak to each other, it was on a completely different subject, wasn't it? We were talking about sovereignty. So, my surprise and my delight, the pleasure is all mine that I am able to speak with you on this subject of dying, death, and grief, and just get other perspectives of on what actually is out there. Sometimes it's better to hear from other people, just apart from just me, so that I know that I'm not going mad.
Right, I hear you. I hear you. But I first and foremost want to thank you for the invite. And secondly, I want to thank you because I had no idea that you were so deep in this. I want to thank you for your books that you've written.
Thank
I would suggest that everybody gets a copy as a must have because not only are they books of guidance, direction, and information, but it's also a workbook where you can actually follow through each process. If somebody's sick and they like, to chip out, I say chip out, but to cross over, their wants, their needs, their desires, whatever it is, it's all logged in this book. And it's phenomenal. And I think the concept that you come up with is absolutely dynamic and it's a definite need for every household to have.
thank
So
you.
I commend you, absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. I need to be more proactive about speaking about the books that I have made. They came about because there were certain things that were missing when both of my parents died. And, I've experienced a lot of death from a very early age, but I never knew what grief was.
Yes.
So it's been a real long journey for me. And I just thought, you know what? Everything I've learned can't go to waste. You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So here we find ourselves.
Well, like I say, I was bowled over, and I'm really, really pleased that you've done this. That's like a life mission
Yeah.
that really needed to be done. And I don't, the fact that nobody done it and you done it, it's like that has to be celebrated. It really does because what we have at the minute. And it's been an observation of mine for a while, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. When one passes over, in terms of maybe your mum, your dad, if they've not prepared a will prior to their leaving,
Uh-huh.
it's chaos, it's infighting, it's hatred, it's and people are just at each other's throats for the things that they believe. Oh well, I'm the eldest, and I should get this, and I should get that. I'm the eldest, I'm the executor, and the point, and not recognizing that there is an order.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, the will. If the will's not in place, that's where it all starts to go pear shaped. And that's what I've identified, not just with our community, because I do a lot of legal stuff and I recognize that this is right across the board. But because I am melanated, I see it more in our people. And the outcome of that is very distasteful, very horrible in relation to the fact that, families break down, it's crazy, it's
Yeah.
really, really crazy. So
Yeah.
I really, really commend you for putting this book together because it puts things into perspective,
Yeah.
an excellent perspective.
Thank you. And yes, one thing that I'm very quick to explain is that death is universal. It doesn't discriminate. You know, when that time comes, it's coming for you. So both of the books are quite generic. But what I also know is that when I was growing up, there was nothing that addressed me, nothing that addressed us, on so many different subjects because we are different. Our perspectives, our needs,
Yes,
are
yes,
so different. And, when my dad died, he didn't write a will. he had always said, if anything happens to me, just bury me in the garden, you know,
Uh-huh.
which so many people did.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, he married his second wife, not my mother. 2 days after the funeral, she had changed the locks on the house that I'd grown up in.
You
And
see?
yeah, everything had, that was it, you know? So, so many of our families do fall apart at that time.
Yeah, because I mean, like in terms of what you just said, you are a beneficiary,
Yeah,
by the virtue of the fact that you are your father's child.
yeah,
And so for this second woman to come along now and decide to, I mean, change the locks and all that, it's like she's saying, well, I'm claiming the house and you lot ain't getting nothing.
that's it.
Because it happens.
Yeah, winner takes all. And he did not write a will. So at the end of
Right.
the day, it's all hers.
But here's another thing from a legal aspect. You can contest that because of the fact that you are your father's child. And the law says you are entitled to a percentage of your father's assets. So the property being your father's asset, you and your siblings are entitled to that. And if you want to contest it, then initially you would have to go to court, issue proceedings, and and challenge her as the executor.
Yeah,
Because an executor of whether there's a will in place or not, if you want to change it because you disagree with it, you can actually do this. But the fact that there wasn't a will in place, as a beneficiary, you can go to court and tell the court that you're challenging. You want them to appoint an executor so that everything is basically divided up equally and fairly to all of the siblings, and this is what the court will do.
right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
King Lion, where have you been all my life?
There.
You know,
You
and
know.
it's information like that that our brothers and sisters and everybody needs to know. So the work that I do is very educational, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because oftentimes when somebody passes away, we don't know what to do, and we are left at the mercy of people who basically just want our money.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
that's how it is set. If I had known that at that time, I can't even guarantee that I would have been able to go through with it because, there's always that one person in the family that is the black sheep.
Well, it's the black sheep that is the savior of the family, believe it or not.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
and I'll say this: it's never too late. It could have been 30 years ago. It could have been 40. It's based on a thing called discovery.
ah,
I have now discovered that I have a right in law to pursue this, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah,
ooh,
indeed. Yes,
okay.
indeed.
Thank you for that. I will give it some thought. And yeah, dynamics have changed now. So yeah, I really could go for
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Your beneficial interest in that property still remains.
right,
And if you had been denied, then you have a right to challenge that and claim that.
right. Okay.
Indeed.
Watch this space. I think there's a
Yeah.
few yardies in London that's going to be shaking in
Yeah,
their
well,
boots now.
for lack of knowledge, they say we perish, and it's true.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So, I make it my duty to share whatever knowledge I can that's going to help people,
Yeah.
generally. Hmm.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. And yes, on that note, can you please just explain to our audience who are you? Let us know how great you are. Please do, blow your own trumpet and let us know what work it is that you do. Who are you?
Okay, first and foremost, I'm a melanated man,
Uh-huh.
okay? And I'm a herbalist. I've been doing herbal medicine since I was 15. I'm now got two numbers in my age brackets, but I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Okay.
And yes, so I've been doing it now for over 40 years,
Right.
and I've helped a lot of people, and I'm continuing to do so because it's my calling to assist people, especially when it comes to health and wellness. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I love is law. And I've always had an affinity for law, even when I was a youth. From the age of about 15, 16, I was just drawn to it. But I let it go because of my love for herbs. And I've gone full circle, and I've come back to law and seen that it's more prevalent and required now, based on the fact of the situations that, systematically people are feeling in terms of, all of these bills and stuff, which a lot of the times, a lot of it is not really even warranted. Do you know what I mean? Because, you've got companies now like bailiffs who are buying bills and buying debts off of companies for pennies, and then pursuing you and adding hundreds of pounds on top of it, and you think that you've got to pay it when you don't actually have a contract with them. So there's all of these other factors when it comes to law that, I've made it my duty to learn and to share and to get people out of a hole, because that's how they're going to break a lot of us, because we think that we have to pay this without examining, without asking certain questions. You know what I mean? We get into serious problems, and we think that we have to, we're compelled to do what they say. But I say question everything. Do you know what I mean? You have to question everything and let them produce paperwork to validate that they got an assignment to even pursue you for that particular money they claim that you owe them when you actually don't have a contract with them. So boom. So that's my second love. And my third love, well, it should be the first love really, but as you grow older, you get wiser as you get older. Spiritual knowledge, growth and development. It's so essential. And, this is the first thing that we should have learned, as opposed to religion. But they gave us religion to confound us and to confuse us and to throw us off track in terms of who we truly are and what we truly are here to be doing. So they gave us religion to make us stay and behave, whereas if we were pursuing our spiritual selves, our higher selves, there's a lot of things that we could conquer just by thought. Because your consciousness, your subconsciousness, which is the mother element, is where your power resides. And that's where your spiritual energy, your spiritual food comes from, So I'm still discovering, but I'm loving the journey because it's just so refreshing. And you actually get stimulated by the power that you learn and draw from this knowledge. It's just amazing. So there's nothing out here that can put fear into one when you know that you didn't come here to stay. You're here for a time, and then you're going to X out. Do you know what I mean? And when you X out, it's not all doom and gloom like we've been led to believe. It's a beautiful thing to transition, but we've been led to believe that, it's all gloom and doom, and nobody's been on the other side and come back and told us what it is. Apart from those that are in a spiritual connection, who can come back through a medium and tell you what's actually going on the other side, and how we should actually be living here on earth in order that when we cross over, how to qualify to go to the next realm. Failing that, we'll come back here and do it all over again because we didn't get it right in this lifetime. So you have people that know about past life experience, and you can go to a past life regressionist and they will tell you what you were in a past life. And so religion doesn't teach us this. Your church doesn't teach you this. Your pastors won't tell you none of this because they're under the whole theology system. And that theology is what's being passed down through Catholicism to the pastors. This is what you must teach them every Sunday. This is what you must say. So if you want to question your pastor, your priest, your vicar about any of this, it's, he ain't got the time for you. He wants to keep you in that religious thing where you just look at him and basically he's the focal point, and basically he's the be all and the end all. So we have to do our own due diligence now. And what's happening in this world is that a lot of people are leaving the church, and I think maybe the whole COVID thing was a light bulb moment for people, because when they needed the pastors, they were nowhere around to be found. And so, and people were abandoned. And so they had to lean upon their own and connect with their own spirit. And it's like now they've woken up, they say, I ain't going back to no church.
That's it.
They told us. So that's my third love. My third love is spirituality, because, we are spiritual beings first and foremost, having a human experience.
Okay. I think what I love about, what you've just said is that it all ties in together, because the spirituality has been co-opted into religion, and it is from that religion or from that spirituality that they actually created laws in the first place.
Yeah.
And what we need to survive is the herbs. We need to be living in nature, back to nature. We are of the earth.
Well, the thing is, like the book says, the Bible, which I call the basic instructions before leaving Earth. In the first book, Genesis, it says, let the herbs, the roots, the seeds be your medicine.
Right.
So for us to walk 180 degrees away from that and then sitting in front of a doctor and allowing a doctor to prescribe drugs to us, which has got 1% of the herb and 98% chemical and 1% filler. And we're taking that thinking that we're doing a good thing. And these are the things that's actually leading to our demise, because we're consistently loading our temples up with all these toxins and chemicals that are not for us.
No.
They were never created for us.
No.
Whenever you see a breakthrough or alleged breakthrough, they take the TV goes straight into the laboratory, and then you see a little white rat, and they always point at the white rat. Yeah, we tried it and it worked on the rat, and blah blah blah, or white guinea pig. You never see a brown rat or a brown guinea pig, which denotes us skin type.
I've never noticed that. Yeah.
That in essence tells you that they're making the medicines for themselves and not for us. Because when you're highly melanated, you can't be taking their drugs and their chemicals. It doesn't work in our biological makeup is so supreme based on the high melanin factor that we got within our skin and within our temple. And this is why we have to work with the herbs, as the Almighty told us, because the herbs has a spirit. Everything in life has got a spirit.
Yeah.
And when you're using the herbs, just like you're using food, the spirit of the food or the herb, it works with your body.
Right.
We came from the earth, we were made from dust, and dust we will return. But in the meantime, you feed from that dust. That's where all food comes from.
Yeah.
Is the earth,
Yeah.
the Mother Earth. Yeah. So this is what it is.
It certainly is. Wow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to interrupt you at this point and just let our listeners know that you can actually call in to the studio on this WhatsApp number. So get yourselves a pen and paper. The WhatsApp number is 07986 726 238. That is, once again, 07986 726 238. You are quite welcome to call in to the studio, studio number 2, and let's, you're quite welcome to join us in this conversation. Okay. In fact, I welcome your help because KingLion has got a load of information for us, and I might not ask the right questions. Wow. So,
yeah.
There is so much to discuss on this subject, this topic of life and death. And we can't have one without the other.
But I like what I've discovered, which is basically a term that maybe we should start using. It's called the next stage of existence beyond the portal that man calls death.
Uh-huh.
The next stage of existence, because in essence that's what's happening. When we drop the bodysuit, your spirit lives on, because your spirit is the driving force of the body.
Yes.
And when it moves on, it's going to another level of existence. Yeah. But like I say, if we haven't completed our mission, you might have some people that decide to take the shortcut and commit suicide because they can't cope with life and what have you. They're going to have to come back and do this all over again.
Yeah.
Because you didn't complete your purpose on the planet.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah. So why do you think there is so much fear of death?
It's what we've been led to believe. But the fact of the matter is that we die every day, every night. When we put our head on that pillar,
Yep.
and we cook out, and then we're in a sleep, we're actually, you could say we're dead. And then what happens in the morning is that we get resurrected again,
Yep.
because we don't know what goes on. Once you're in a deep sleep, that's it.
Yep.
And that's a form of death. And like I say, you resurrect in the morning, and you give thanks, and boom, off you go on another day. But we've been fed. We've been fed. You know what's interesting, LP? As melanated people, yeah. A lot of us talk about Egypt and how great Egypt was and how great Egypt still is and what have you. But what people fail to recognize is that the Egyptians spent a large proportion of their life actually preparing for their transition off the planet.
Yep, I agree. Bear with me a second. We have Big 45 has just called into the studio. Big 45, are you there? Can you hear us?
A question.
You've got a question? All right, hold on a second. Right, okay. Go on.
The question is, ask the brother, telling me for a start, the conversation is very interesting.
Thank
and
you.
that I want to know, when do you know when you've completed your mission on Earth? When do you know? He says you have to come back and repeat it if you've gone out before you've actually completed your mission. When do you know that your mission is completed?
All right. When your mission is completed is the time when your eyes close and you journey on. So we don't know what the cause will be. Some people leave in their sleep. Some people may have an instant, but these are the way that they have to leave the planet. But the only thing that one mustn't do is circumnavigate it by committing suicide. Yeah, we didn't give ourselves life, and we can't take life. Yeah, you only take life if somebody's threatening your life. But otherwise, we have to grow through the experience, because we came here to gather experience, whether positive or negative, whether we like it or we don't like it, we have to endure it. That's the purpose of experience, gathering experience, and then we clock out. When the Almighty says, yeah, boom, ready for come on, it just takes you home. That's it. We don't know when, and we don't know why, but the only one who knows that is the Most High.
45?
Yeah. Yes, well done, brother. Yeah. I'm listening to the rest of the show and continues this day. It's very interesting.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And do feel free to call in again. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
All right.
Then,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, brother. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting about this, now, we've touched on one of my favourite subjects here, that which we do refer to as suicide. I personally have done some videos on it, but I actually label it under Cleopatra. And the reason why I call them Cleopatra videos is because she decided to end her life. She decided when she would. And so many of our ancestors have been in that situation when they too have had to end their lives, or they've had the option, because they have known that the fate that affects them or that awaits them is far worse than being alive. Now, having done some research, it would be really good to get your perspective of this. And I do speak about this in Tapestries of Grief as well. The reason why the religious leaders made suicide illegal was because we are all born with a number and we are all stock. And so we are messing with Master's stock when we take our lives away. Likewise, when we kill somebody. Now, I know that there are the Ten Commandments, and thou shalt not kill is in one of those as well. But what are your thoughts about that? Because the punishments for failed suicide back in the day, back in the, the days when they would put a stake through you, are actually, they were quite severe, and they kind of scared people into staying alive. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I think basically the whole thing about suicide is based on free will. Everyone has the free will, and that's everyone's given choice.
Yeah.
People do what they do for whatever reason. Whether they, like, for example, our ancestors who decided they're going to jump off the ship because they just didn't want to go and see or fear what was going to be at the end of that boat ride.
Yeah.
You know, for those that were thrown off and to drown, you know, that was no fault of their own. So
Yeah.
that may well have been their purpose and mission to experience that, and then that was the end of their journey.
Yeah.
But whoever decides to do whatever it is in terms of taking themselves off the planet, like I said, I'm not a judge, and I'm certainly not going to judge anybody. Everyone's got the right to do what they want to do, as long as they don't harm another individual.
Yes.
So, again, you know, the Almighty will, you know, if the Almighty sees, you know, that, you know, you taking your life for whatever reason, you know, you might have been facing a firing squad, or you maybe you'd be wrestled one of them and took the gun and took yourself out, as opposed to, you know, any of these factors can be either forgiven, or, like I say, you have to come back here and do it all over again.
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes.
But I would say, if you do take yourself out, I know many people that I talk to, and they say, yo, you know what, when I'm done here, I ain't coming back. I don't want to come back and do this all over again. You know what I mean? So you find I'll say, yo, you see me? I'm just going to ride it. Yeah. Right to the end. Yeah. I don't want to come back here. I don't want to do this all over again.
Yeah.
Personally, you know?
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a free will thing. It's up to the individual. None of us can judge.
Yeah.
None of us are here to judge, because, you know, it's all about YOU, your own universe. So you focus on you and your immediate family, and that's it, you know?
Yeah. I fully agree with you. Those who do decide to end it will come back. You know, the trials and tribulations that we have, the experiences that we have when we are in the life situation are to be worked through. And so we will return and we will do our work. Maybe with each lifetime it will be slightly different, slightly more bearable. And we will, you know, get to the point where we do get to the end, you know, and naturally life comes to its conclusion. But there's no escaping, is there? There's no escaping.
No, and you know, I've concluded that this earth is a testing station. We've all come here. We all, in actual fact, we agreed to come here.
Yeah.
We lined up to come here. It's just that we've forgotten the mission. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, it's like your spirit is wiped clean, and you just got to go through and navigate and you know, like the Moors, just navigate through the high seas. You know, you see objects, you move around them, and you don't allow them to actually undermine you or undermine your spirit. Yeah. And that's why I give great credence to the Moors, because they knew exactly what time it was. Further, they were in connection with the planetary alignments of the Earth. They knew what time they came here. They could tell what planets were where when they were born at that particular exact time, and they knew exactly what their purpose was. Because before the Bible came, the planets was the benchmark for knowing your divine purpose.
Yes.
You know, so. Yeah, there's a lot to be learned on this planet, and unfortunately, like I say, religion has done us a serious damage. Remember, it's saying, you know, the pastor saying, oh no, you know, astrology and that, no, that's devil worship, don't look at that. But yet you read in the Bible, it tells you about astrology. It talks about Pleiades, it talks about Orion, it talks about all of these constellations, and yet they tell us that it's evil. But meanwhile, the Pope's got the biggest telescope on the planet.
Yeah.
What's going on in the heavens?
What's that for?
So, what's that all about?
That's
you see?
Yeah. You know, it really is a shame, and I think once your eyes are open to the reality of what's going on, it can actually, I think, in the future, that a lot of people are going to be seriously disturbed. Their mental health is going to be shook. And I don't think that we're going to have to wait long for that time. Because we have been hoodwinked in such a way that when the revelations start to reveal themselves, we're not going to be able to handle it. Which is why it's necessary that people like you and I, and Big 45, and the whole raft of us who often, I suppose, get ridiculed by those people who think life is normal. It's important that we are in place, because this is not normal. This is not real, and there's going to need to be a net in place to catch our brothers and sisters when they fall.
Big time, big time. And I totally agree with you, because it's inevitable. There's so much revelations. Every day is like volumes of revelations being revealed on social network. It's like, wow, how do I cope with all of this? Because there's just so much of it.
Yes.
But this is the day and time of truth, and the lies can no longer hide.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that being the case, yes, a lot of people are going to be like losing their minds and that, because they're going to say, I can't believe the government done this to us. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. It's like, but there it is. Evidence is there. Like you rightly said, we've been telling people for years, and they think, oh yeah, you guys are cuckoo. But hear what? It's coming through now, isn't it? So you you got to face the reality.
Yeah.
But in the book it says that man's hearts will fail them, and this is a time when men's hearts and women's hearts will fail them, because, like you rightly say, what's going to come, what's going to be revealed, what's coming to the surface is going to be below their mind.
Yeah.
It is great when you are forearmed, forewarned, and prepared for the eventuality that's coming.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because then it softens the blow, and you won't be that affected, because we already knew it was coming. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you were speaking before about your third love being spirituality, you did say the key thing there is that you're still learning. Where we never stop. So, and the journey is very personal, it's very individual. You can't save, in inverted commas, somebody else. You can only live your own life, and let people know along the way what you've learned. And I think when that time comes, we ourselves are going to be shook as well.
Well, yeah, true indeed. But one of the things that we, that the great wise ones have always said is to be of service to each other.
Yes.
Yeah? We must learn to love each other. And I know most people are going to say, boy, but hear what? This was the message that was given from Ancient of Days, and ain't nothing changed. What's changed with us is the mindset that we've adopted from people that's in control, that doesn't have the interest of sentient flesh and blood beings. I won't say humans, because humans, basically, look it up, it means a monster. So I'm not dealing with human or humanity. I'm dealing with sentient flesh and blood beings who have a heart and a soul and a spirit within them. Yeah, but this has been basically, it's been, how do I define it now? It's been turned upside down.
Yes.
Yeah. So instead of exuding love, because if we look at, let's take an example, Berlin Wall. When they were knocking down the Berlin Wall and the soldiers were standing there with guns ready to shoot the people all burst out into singing.
Right.
And with the singing, it softened the hearts of the soldiers. The soldiers dropped their guns and started helping the people to mash down the wall. And some soldiers were even making cups of tea and bringing to the people.
Right.
You see what love can do. Yeah. But we think that love is a weakness, and we have to be bad man and this and that. No, that's what they feed you with that. If we listen to the music that's out there, that's what it's projecting. Yeah. Be a bad man, be a bad gal. You know what I mean? So you think that it's like that's the way to live, but no. No. That's just going to take you into a deeper hole away from yourself and your true essence.
Yes,
I agree.
Yeah.
So when you start to grow spiritually, your eyes up and you see whatever they're doing, you do the 100-degree U-turn from what they're doing. Whatever they tell you, you go 100 degrees the other way.
In the other way, run
exactly.
in the other direction.
Absolutely.
You have said so much, and we've already discussed it. You're going to have to come back for round 2 and then round 10. But going back to what you've said about the soul reminds me of the conversation that we had about silver birch. So what I just want to do is I want to quickly play a part of what he said about the soul, and then we can explain to our listeners who Silver Birch was and how we have this information. And then maybe in the second hour we can talk more about that. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely cool.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is what Silver Birch said about the soul.
You must allow the divinity within you to attain its fullest expression, so that you practice the brotherhood and sisterhood which is a natural fact of your being. The soul is not white, yellow, black, or red. The soul has no color or racial bar. This is what you have to learn and to practice. Superiority comes only when you unfold the divinity within you, and it expresses itself in love and compassion and consideration, not only for all the other humans in your world, but for the animals who share this planet with you. You must abolish needless cruelty and exploitation everywhere. Peace will come when you put into practice the facts that appertain to your spiritual origin and destiny.
Okay, so he sounded like an interesting young man.
Well, in actual fact, Silver Birch is an old soul. And what he says is you can tell that the words spoken are not really of this realm, because you don't hear people speak like that. And he's basically having us check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. And by that I mean he's telling us what we really should be dealing with on this planet. And like he said, of our well. So who is Silver Birch? Silver Birch is somebody that lived on this planet and transitioned over to the other side, what men call death. Now, that clipping there was from the Hanan Swatha circle. And the front end of that is when it starts, it's introduced by a woman who's, when I played it back in the days on my radio station, people phoned up and say, "Who's that? Is that the Queen? Is that the Queen talking?" Because she sounds like the Queen. Yeah. So what she's saying basically is, "Oh, look, we're in a circle and we're going to invite in Silver Birch, and he's coming to us in the spirit." So you had somebody there who was like a medium that Silver Birch used and spoke through that individual. So the individual was in a trance, and the voice that you heard was Silver Birch speaking through that individual. It's always moved me the first time I heard that, and I had to expose that to people to tell, look, check this, because it's deeper than what we actually think. And like I say, the way he his words are put knitted together, it's definitely off-world. It's definitely not of this world. But he certainly makes you think, and he touches your soul, and he touches your spirit. I don't know if that's what you picked up, LP, when you were listening to it. What did you feel?
Well, I agree with you. The mode of communication that Silver Birch uses is commonly referred to as channeling.
Yes.
And this is a mode of communication that I have been involved in, I have taken part in, I have channeled, and I have been aware of for about, I'd say about 15 years now. So the first entity I came across was an individual called Seth. Seth speaks. by
Oh yeah.
yeah, and that was channeled by a lady named Jane. And traditionally, I was brought up in a religion stroke cult.
Mhm.
We're led to believe that this is demon possession and that kind of evil dem things, and but I have actually learned so much from spirit and from channeling, which is why I can say hand on heart that there is no death.
Exactly.
The only,
Exactly.
right, the difference is that they have laid their body aside,
Mhm.
but they are still able to communicate, and what
Absolutely.
loving wisdom they bestow upon us.
Exactly. Exactly. There's another individual called Dr. George King. He runs the Etheria Society. Peace be upon him. He's passed over now, but he used to channel a being from a constellation, and that being was called Mars Sector 6.
Ooh.
And the message that he gave was about what was happening in the early 60s when they were considering releasing a bomb, and this bomb would have basically devastated the planet. And so he had to come through and give the message. And Dr. George King ended up having to commandeer the BBC and give them the message. And they were so moved by the message that they decided to put him on the TV.
Wow.
So that he could give this message to the world.
Wow.
So what you're saying, in essence, is real. But a lot of people don't recognize this because they don't hear about it, because their world is so caught up in mundane things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and there's no fault of anybody, because, that's how life is. That's how life's been crafted and set up for us, not to focus on these things. But, I'm so pleased that there's people out there doing this work and have been doing this work for a very long time, and it's never going to stop.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's a really good idea as well to let people know that, we're talking about the darkness and the light. And I'm not saying that the darkness is any better than the light, or the light is any better than the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But just as we are speaking about the positive that comes out of channeling, we need to also be aware that when the Bible says that the world is in the hands of the wicked one,
Yes.
there are likewise people who are also using the same energies, different energies rather, but the same means,
Absolutely.
to keep their claws into our lives and inveigle us, and have control over us in every which way. There is nothing, though, that anybody at all in the whole universe is doing that we ourselves cannot do. In fact, we are more powerful than those entities
True
because
indeed.
we are here. Yeah.
True indeed. And I'm so glad that you said what you said, because everything's based on balance. It's not all good, and it's not all bad. It's a balance. This is why if we look at the sign of the yin and the yang, you see one side is black, one side is white, and in the middle you've got a line. Yeah. So that being the case, yes, you will have entities that are going to try and speak like they're going to sound like, oh, your mum's trying to communicate with you through a medium, but it could be an entity disguising themselves and talking to you through a medium for nefarious reasons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and if your ears are open spiritually and you hear beings, you have to ask them, who are they? And you ask them 3 times, and they have to reveal themselves at the 3rd time. So if they're of the light, they'll tell you they're of the light. If they're of the dark, so on the 3rd answer, they'll step.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So these are things that people need to know in terms of, if when you do spiritually awaken, because remember that the Almighty said that the time is coming when He's going to pour, the Almighty is going to pour the Spirit upon us to awaken us up. So young men will have dreams and visions, and all sorts of stuff's going to be happening. Do you know what I mean? Because the battle is on now, and the time for that awakening, it's coming. Everything's incremental with the Almighty. It's never just seat there. No, it's just incremental, slowly. So yes, we must prepare ourselves, be receptive, and I say, people, study and make yourself approved. Read the book for yourself. And I say this: the book is not religious. If you look in the book, the basic instructions before leaving Earth, which people call the Bible, if you read that, you will find no religion mentioned in there whatsoever. So when people say, "Oh, but no, there's no religious affiliation. In fact, if it was religious, it wouldn't tell you about the church being a synagogue of Satan. Do you know what I mean? So it's an instruction book, just like if you buy a car, you get a manual with that car, shows you how to operate the thing. Do you know what I mean? We've come on this planet and we've got no idea how to function because nobody's ever really taught us. And those who thought that they could trick us, bamboozle us and hoodwink us, which is the church, has tricked us to no end, and so we're in a state of confusion.
That's it.
You see?
Yeah.
You see? So we must read it for our book, and your spirit now, because this is the time of truth, your spirit's going to open, and you're going to find what you need. Even if you meditate and say, "Show me what I need," and you will open the book randomly, and there it is.
Yep.
You'll find something that relates to you, registers to you, touches your heart and your soul, and then you say, "Rah, I didn't know this." Like me and a brethren was talking last night, and he was giving me chapter over verse, and I tell you what, it filled my soul because I say, "Rah, I thought I read the book, but boy, this guy's a G." You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing because what we're doing, we're putting all the pieces of this puzzle together.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you know, I always say to people, life is a game. You know, it is a game. And like, you know, they say the world is a stage. Everyone's playing their part.
Yeah.
But you've got to know what part you're playing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's deep like that.
It is. I'm loving the fact that you are equally as passionate. I can literally just sit here and just listen. But you know,
yeah, but it's a joy. Now, honestly, to me, it's the most viable and life-fulfilling mission ever. It supersedes anything else on this earth. Because everything else on this earth is like, sure, got the car, got the house, and what? You know, and I'm still, you know, you've got all these billionaires and millionaires, they got all of this, and they're still not happy.
Yes.
So they're still missing in their life, isn't it? And that's because they're spiritually devoid. They're spiritually devoid. So if you fill your spirit, you say, "Yo, you know what? Lay full of that, man. My spirit is worth more than silver, more than gold." And this is what the one Solomon said. You know what I mean? He said, "Yo, give me wisdom. Because wisdom is like more precious than silver, rubies, diamond, and gold."
Yes.
And that's a big statement because Solomon was rich.
Yeah.
You know, super, super rich.
Yeah.
But I say, "Yeah, I'll give away all of that just for wisdom. Give me wisdom."
Yeah. That's it.
You know?
Every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we are coming to the top of the hour, right? So, will you join us in the second hour?
Well, yeah, because that's when I'm going to download some serious information. So, absolutely.
Rockstone. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. It really is a pleasure having you here with us today. Once again, if any callers want to call in the second hour, the number is 07986 726 238. You are listening to DJ LP on Passion Radio, and we are speaking about, well, I think we've kind of digressed, don't you think, brother?
Well, it's all one. I would say it's all one circular existence of everything. Everything is everything.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
And I do think that is why I realized, or maybe the ancestors told me, everything. Death is everything. Because without death, you can't have life.
Exactly. And life is a continuum.
That's
it. May not be in the flesh, but it still continues. That's the greatest secret. This is what they don't want us to know.
That's it.
But trust me, everyone's going to know. Part 2, everyone's going to know after your ads and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. I'll be playing us out and see you in part 2.
Lovely. Give thanks.
Here is a story told to the children of Africa.
KingLion.
Yes.
Okay, I understand you're about to kill us with it.
No, we don't want to kill you though.
No. All right,
but yeah, no, we got some information to share, which I think will help to dispel a lot of the myths and mystifications that is surrounded around transition with men called death. we call it the next stage of existence beyond the portal of death.
Okay.
Right. I've got a couple of things that I want to read because I think it will help to dispel the fiction that's being created around this whole transition. I'm going to read from a authoress. Her name is Ruth Montgomery. She's an automatic writer, which means basically, you sound like you're familiar with that.
Yeah, right. I do. Let's put it this way: I've got a couple of notebooks.
Excellent. So she receives direct revelations from the other side, be it her guides and an individual by the name of Arthur Ford. Ruth Montgomery, she's a very famous writer, and Arthur Ford himself was a very famous medium. When he was alive in the flesh, he was known as one of the top American spiritist medium, and he basically created the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship in 1955. Okay. And he revealed the secret code of Harry Houdini back in the days, and basically that made him become the number one renowned medium in America, because he was able to get information from Houdini that would transfer to his wife if he survived the death. And from then on, he became known as the top medium of the 21st or the 20th century, should I say. So with this automatic writing connection, it basically works via, like I said, the subconscious, which is the mother energy within, and rather than the conscious intention of the writer, this occurs when somebody with psychic ability receives messages of healing and upliftment for the recipients. So I want to read this chapter, and maybe we can deliberate on this, because I think this is absolutely quite phenomenal. And it goes like this. I'm reading from a book called A World Beyond, written by Ruth Montgomery, and it says here, page 126, it says, unless a soul sufficiently strives for perfection while in the physical form, is actually losing ground, because on this side the laws are such that it is not possible to backslide merely to stand still or progress. Therefore, the physical stage is for the purpose of advancing the progression of the soul through overcoming of temptation and assisting others to advance. If this is thoroughly understood, it will help to emphasize the importance of overcoming bad habits, silencing sharp tongues, quelling anger and pettiness, and putting the welfare of others at least on par with one's own, so that no unkind deed or word passes from one soul to another soul. In the spirit state, we automatically assist others as needed, for we are directly under the laws of the Most High, and without as much personal choice as you there enjoy for a brief span of years. That is your most crucial testing. Do you make the most of it? Question. Do you shed habits which delay progress and tie you too much to the earthbound state after coming into spirit, i.e., drinking, drugs, nicotine in all forms? These are habits to be broken there, i.e., on earth, so that they do not hold you back. They do not hold back your development in the next stage. Learning to think of the welfare of others, putting forth love instead of angry outbursts, thinking how much we dislike being the object of another's wrath, and then determining never again to make another person the object of ours, putting husband before self or wife before self, loving those whom it is difficult for you to love because they are on a different vibratory level from you. These are terribly important in the physical state, for on this side, we automatically avoid those on different wavelengths or vibrations, since only like attraction beams brings us together. Thus, the importance of growth on that side where the challenge exists. And I'll end it there.
Okay. All right.
So, I'll see how I'll pack that, and then I'll pack it after.
Oi, I was going to ask you to go first.
Okay, so boom. So what that is the message from the spirit realm saying, listen, you guys here on Earth, yeah, you need to fix up, because when you cross over, you need to be clean. Yeah, we've learned a lot of bad habits over here. We think, smoking, drinking, and cursing out and this and that. We think it's the thing to do because number one, we see it on the TV, so we're being programmed to do all of these things. I think that it's okay. We think, that's living. But in essence, it's causing us harm and injury for when we cross over, because we're gonna have to come back here and learn to undo all of that rubbish. So what they're saying in the spirit realm is, now that you know this, practice it here on this earth before you actually cross over, so that you don't have this burden and heavy load to discharge when you're there, because you'll be good to go to the next level of existence.
Okay.
So that's the message that we're getting in that particular construct of written word.
Okay. Now, what our good sister also spoke about is the importance then to raise our vibration.
Absolutely.
These substances, the way that we're living, which is obviously very encouraged by society, but for a reason. They encourage us to live this way because it lowers our vibration.
Word.
And so when we do exist from a lower vibration, what can we expect when the death transition comes? Where are we going? Do we even know who we ourselves are?
Exactly.
Can we fulfill our purpose if we are distracted by drink, drugs, and loose women? We really do need to stop and look at our lives, and oftentimes, what's his name, Benjamin Franklin, and I often quote him. He said most people die at 25 and they're not buried until they're 75.
Wow, that's deep. How does he come to that? I'm curious.
Most people die at 25 and they're not buried until they're 75. Well, if you think about...
Yes, I'm glad you said that a second time. It's now penny just dropped. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I hear that.
That's it. The programming that we are under literally kills us. It kills our youths.
Yeah.
And we allow it. We submit to it. And in submitting, we allow it to continue. Indeed, we uphold this system, and we bring our children into it to uphold this system. So we really do stop living. So many people that I've worked with have gotten to their latter years and realized, I haven't lived.
Yeah. It's the program. It's a learned behavior, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we're living out somebody else's reality as opposed to living our own.
Yeah.
Because it's the herd mentality. Oh, the system say we have to do it this way, so therefore we're going along like sheep, and basically losing ourselves in the process.
That's it. But we don't realise it because we've been led to believe that what we're living is a normal life, a normal existence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When COVID happened, everybody wanted things to go back to normal. And it was an opportunity for us because, as you said in the first hour, astrologically, they know what time it is. They know their time is up.
Yes.
Which is
Absolutely.
why the attacks on us have intensified because they have to take as many of us with them as they possibly can.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. 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 And it's interesting because I'm trying to get hold of this movie called Constantine. It's an old film, but in Constantine it shows you that the beast, all he wanted was your soul.
Right.
That's all he wanted. And, you know, it's the same game, different players.
Yeah.
In this particular timeline. You know, they want your soul.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's this is a conversation that I've had, you know, in the early days when I was setting up FACFO, which is the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. It's a directory where I'm looking for people who do the work that I do, which is end-of-life care and guidance, funeral celebrancy, funeral arrangement, funeral direction, grief and bereavement counselling and mentoring.
Fantastic.
It's big, there's a lot. But we had these conversations about the soul. When we are not presiding over our own death, when we are not presiding over our own funeral services, then our soul is at the liberty of those of other cultures who know what they're doing and have their own rituals and traditions.
Correct.
Which are designed to steal the soul.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, one of the things that always got me, Sister LP, is like, you know, you have, let's say, a cultured, all right, let's say we got a Rasta man, yeah?
Yeah.
And he spent all his life not dealing with Christianity and the church and all that, so he said, fire, burn that, you know that, yeah? And when he passes over now, where does he end up? In a church, with a pastor praying over him in the name of Jesus, and it's like, he never deal with none of that, so how are you going to put him under that? It's like you've given him a serious death sentence.
Yes.
Serious death sentence on top of the sentence that he's got. Now he's got to hellfire now because he wasn't of that.
Right.
But many a times, because culturally we don't have these things in place, that's where we end up.
There you go.
So, yeah. So in essence, we really need our own. You know, just like the Chinese got their own, the Indians have got their own. Why should we end up under these people? And they're not very. If you know the history of their behaviors, you know what I mean. You definitely don't want to be under them because they're taking you back on a satanic ritual.
Well, that's it. You know, we know that they don't respect us in life. How can we expect them to respect our bodies in death?
Exactly.
Hence the creation of the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. Now, what I want to go back to is that comment that you made, right? Because it's very poignant. A very well-respected Rastafarian dub man brother of the community passed away this year. And his funeral was conducted by Caucasian people from beginning to end. Now, when one of our brothers in the community questioned the organisers and said, why didn't you use black funeral directors? He was told, we don't have any. And anyway, colour's got nothing to do with it. And it's so true.
Culture does.
It's so true what you have just said. We have condemned our brother. If he gets to come back, who knows? Who knows where his soul is now? If he does get to come back, surely the work that he will have to do to get back to the level of which he was at before will be doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled plus, because we are not preparing for our death.
Exactly. And this is why I look at the Egyptians, or the brothers and sisters in Kemet. They made sure they spent a good proportion of their lives putting in preparation for when they leave the planet. They were so meticulous about it. It's like, so how then is it that we've dropped so far from our brothers and sisters from the ancient of days, and we've ended up here where we're having to have this discussion? It should never be, but unfortunately it is, and it's a travesty, to be truthful.
It's a travesty. You know, as we're having this conversation, I'm also having how do I put this so that I don't freak out the listeners? The ancestors are always speaking. They're
Yes.
always speaking. So yes, I've got that it is a travesty. I also understand. No, scrap that. I also
Well done.
overstand
Yes.
that we were lulled into a state of trance in order to protect ourselves until we get to the age of Aquarius,
Mm.
which is why there's not that much information, or our information is becoming available now. It is a
Right.
travesty that we don't have, that we are not set up. It is, I agree with you. um, you know, when I was training to do the work I do, I was so perplexed at the fact that I was the only black person in the room,
Yeah.
and that they were not addressing black issues and needs. And then one day I got a tap on the shoulder by the ancestors, and that's basically what they said. You know, they can't teach you who you are. What you are is in your DNA, it's in your soul.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's not for them to know, because information they have known in the past, they've used it to further kill us. Look where we are today.
Exactly. 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 But you know why I commend you is because you took time to go through the process to learn all of this and come out, and you know, yeah, now you know. But I'm hoping after this broadcast that people actually see the light and actually say, you know what, we need to be taking lessons in terms of this, and you know, we need to learn this so that we can have our own set up all over the country, because we are everywhere, and we cannot be going under these people. We cannot be going under, you know, the sodomy and all of that goes on with these people, the exposure that's gone on with all these people, and then you're going to be buried and they're going to be taking their last word over you?
That's it.
No, sir.
That's it.
Mm-mm.
We don't know what happens in their funeral directors, in their mortuaries. We don't know what they're doing to our bodies behind closed doors.
You know, you know, a word just popped into my head called necrophilia.
Yes.
And
Oh,
you
we're
know,
going
there's
there.
so much want. You know, they want our body parts while you know, they want it. And yo, it's like, yeah, man. Oh man, I don't even want to go there in terms of what I'm going to say, but you know what I mean. You can imagine what I'm about to say,
Yes.
yeah, because they feel that, yeah, draw the energy. Do you know what I mean? And we know how they do that, so it's like I'll just leave that where it is. But no, it's something that, you know, we really have to treasure and honor us, you know, as we transition. This is why our ancestors in Kem were so meticulous.
Yes.
And we really need to revisit that, because a lot of brothers and sisters say, yeah, man, Egypt great and Egypt this and that and this. Yeah, but what? You're not looking at the whole circumference of it. You're looking at a part of it, but you're not looking at the entirety in terms of the transition aspect.
Yeah.
That's the most vital part. That's why they bury themselves with all of their things, and even their wives and their servants and all them things, so that they don't have a pull on them. Because when somebody passes, and yes, we mourn them. Of course, we're going to mourn them because that's standard. But you can't mourn them for months on end, because you're holding them back on the earth realm.
Yes.
You have to release them.
Yes.
And so the brothers and sisters in Kem decide, well, yo, you know what? We know how it go. And it's like, yo, you're with us, so boom, you're coming with us in life and in death, because you're gonna come into another existence with us when we resurrect on the other side, you know. So these are things that, you know, I know it's deep, and I know people deem this subject taboo. But if we don't have the conversation, when we ever gonna have the conversation? When you know, when's it ever gonna manifest if we don't talk about it?
That's it. Yeah. And we need to speak about it whilst we are not consciously under duress. Because when that time comes, we're not going to have time to talk.
Exactly. And I would say as well, you know, I would like, even if people text in, and you know, answer the question: how many of you got a will prepared at this moment in time?
Right. Okay. So the number is 07986 726 238, and that's a WhatsApp number. Please feel free to let us know how many of you have a will. All right, I was just about to try and look for the stats, but I'm going to stay on the conversation. But so few of us.
And we know what happens if you don't have a will. Who gets everything? Yeah, generally it's basically the government that will end up with it, unless you've got the infighting amongst the family, you know. And it's horrible, because whereas unity and love is supposed to abide, where the family comes together, this is a time of loss. Yeah, but at the same time, it's a time of jubilation, because you know your parents have done what they're supposed to do and they've moved on. You're going to end up there at some point. That's inevitable. Yeah, so let peace and love abide. You know, share the thing out equally. Let everybody get their piece and keep it moving. You should not have one who's claiming to be, you assume that they assume the position of executor and then deny the rest of the siblings what's rightfully theirs. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No. Don't go start talk. But you see what happens, for lack of knowledge, our people, they believe, say, well, if I'm the executor, I can do what I want, but they don't recognize that there's a law in place. Yeah? And then you have to read and recognize your responsibilities as an executor. Yeah? So don't assume it and then don't perform it, because that will be your downfall. You will end up going to jail.
Yeah, very big responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And all you have to do is be honourable and give the other siblings what's rightfully theirs.
That's it.
Straight split. Simple.
I had an Aunt B who always used to say, never fight over dead left.
Boom.
Full stop. Never fight over dead left.
Yeah.
I want to just go and take you back again, because you just dropped bombs galore. So I just want to go back to, you know, what you were saying before. And I think that this is what we have forgotten. And it kind of ties in as well with the question at the beginning that I always ask people, where has the fear come from?
Yes.
I would argue that the fear of death is a Western concept, because they don't know what we know. Okay?
Granted.
They don't have in their DNA what we have in our DNA, and what we have is regeneration. This is why we are so hated. Full stop. We can talk about that another day. Okay? What we've forgotten is that death is an elevation. It is something that is to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
It is something, it is an accomplishment when your parents pass away, when your partner passes away, even unfortunately when your child passes away. We must remember that they came here with a mission, with work to do, and when those eyes close, it's because the job has been done. We don't always know what the purpose is. But we have to learn to appreciate that when that time comes, the job has been done.
Yes.
And sometimes the job is done after the actual passing takes place.
That's right. Absolutely.
We need to remember that these lives are a gift. They are a gift on so many levels. And so it's so true what you've said, brother. Oftentimes we are holding them back when we refuse to let them go.
Yeah. True indeed.
They're on a journey. We are all on a journey. And that journey doesn't stop when we lay the body aside.
That's right. And there's a 3-day day of transition that must not be interfered with. They're supposed to remain for 3 days so that the soul actually leaves in its entirety. If it's interrupted within the 3 days, that soul may not get to its journey. So this is something that we need to be very mindful of. Maybe we need to hang on to the body for 3 days, you know, keep it in your yard, and that way ensures there's safe transition to where they need to be, you know, because like you rightly say, you know, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing when they got the bodies of our loved ones in their space.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I do know this from an elder, peace be upon him. I used to go and check him, and him tell me, say, a man upstairs pass, and boy, them come for the body, and It's like, even though they got the body, but his soul, the soul of the body came out of the body, and he could hear the soul upstairs at night time making up noise, and boom, they had to come back and capture the soul.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
yes,
from
yes.
them to capture the soul, and say, yo, this is a serious thing.
Yes.
This is a serious thing. So we have to maintain and look after that body for at least 3 days, and then we can be sure that it's made its journey, its transition to where it's supposed to be.
Right, and this is why we need to be planning ahead. I'm a big advocate for us having our babies at home and for us dying at home.
Yes.
Birth and death are not medical. They're
That's
not
right.
medical experiences. You know, these are social at best.
Yes.
Spiritual is what they are. Okay?
And it's a shame that we just do not have our own, up and down the country. We're supposed to have at least a venue, you know what I mean, or a centre of a sort where, we can leave a body to rest there. We can, I don't know, we're in such a state, it's just unbelievable. And we shouldn't be here really in this particular position.
No.
We're supposed to have our centres right up and down the country. We're supposed to have a community centre at least.
Yeah.
And run for us, by us.
Yeah.
Yeah, funded by the government, because we're taxpayers, so we're entitled to get that money and get a building. And, if we want to leave a body there for 3 days, so it's culturally appropriate for us to do that, then that should be in place.
Yeah.
But like I say, the people that run these things now, their behaviour is just so twisted. You just don't know what they're doing.
That's it. Well, the original purpose of FACFO was so that we do have our own hospices, so that we do, so that we can do our thing our way. We also intended to buy land as well, so that we can actually bury our loved ones together, also to have a burial society, so that we can all put money into a pot, so that we can all use our brothers and sisters who are providing the services to pay them, so that we can have funerals. It's much bigger than just being a directory looking for brothers and sisters up and down the country who are doing the work. We are also able to provide training on every aspect of the work that's needed as well. What we need is more and more brothers and sisters to come forward and say that they are interested.
Yes.
And to get over this Western notion of fear, because the fear is not ours. In truth, we all know that there's no such thing as death, Oftentimes you speak to someone and you say, what, you dreamed them yet?
Yeah, absolutely, because they will come to you. Of course they will come to you. Standard.
So,
Right. Yeah.
So why are we not talking about it? The fear is not ours. It's not ours.
Exactly. This is a subject matter, and I like the fact that you've created it. So maybe some GoFundMe or whatever to raise its profile is required, because there's many of us here, and it's inevitable that we're going to pass. There's no question. So why not have a pool where we can pump some resources into it and ensure that like you say, the brothers and sisters doing the work, they're now a part of that institution, so we can call upon them to do the rites and passages and of transitioning.
Right.
It's very much required. Very, very much required.
Yep, I do have a team. I am also constantly looking for brothers and sisters up and down the country who do this work. I'm also looking for the drummers and the DJs and the caterers and those who do have halls, We need everybody who is concerned about our brothers and sisters, especially at that time of loss or perceived loss. We need to come together. We need to be doing this work.
And I like what you said about the drummers, because I used to be in a drumming crew, and yes, we used to go to the funerals and beat drum.
Right.
And let me tell you something, the vibration gets so high.
Right.
We see people with walking sticks flinging down the stick and they're moving, man.
Right.
You know, but here's what it is. When we go, we jump, and we're in the church now, we're beating the drum and everybody's vibing and the energy's high, you know.
Yeah.
The minute the pastor comes and sit on that chair and starts to play that organ, you can feel the energy just drop straight back down to the ground.
Dissipate. Absolutely. Yeah.
Gee,
And
I tell you.
the wickedest thing is that it's in the church.
Yeah.
So where is
Yeah.
that energy going?
Exactly.
That's why they love us. But the interesting thing, I had a conversation with Edison. I don't know if you're aware of him.
Yeah, man, we know Edison, yes, man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that the animal would be, let's say, I don't want to quote him out of turn, but the animal would be slaughtered in a way that the animal would then go back to the spirit world.
Yes.
And they would be able to use the blood to communicate with the spirit world via the animal. They would use the skin of the animal to make the drum.
Yes,
and
yes,
communicate with the spirit world through the drum.
Mm-hmm.
This is how important the drum is.
It is absolute.
Our bodies. Go on.
And what you were saying in relation, people must say, well, we got to talk about blood and rare and slaughter animal. No. If you knew culturally that this is where your bloodline, your ancestral, your lineage comes from antiquity, this is what the priest, not the vicar, not the pastor, because there's a difference between a bishop, a pastor, and a vicar. Yeah?
Right.
The priest is the one, the Levite priest, all priests are Levites. They have the authority to do this. Yeah? So yes, the blood ritual and the spiritual connection with the blood work and it's very essential.
Yeah.
It's just that we've been given a pastor of disaster and thinks that everything is Chris and him. I say two words. No, God, sir.
Yeah.
No, you go back to the foundation, and what you just said, my sister, is absolutely on target. Yeah. Absolutely. But you see, for lack of knowledge, our people perish and they think, oh, we're taught some yokkery. But no, do the research. And you come back to your roots and you'll find out, yeah, you've got a safe passage and, you know what I mean, as it was from the beginning, so will it be at the end of the age, innit? Do you know what I mean? So, yes, it is an essential part of our transition as a people of culture.
Right.
Yes.
Deep.
Yeah. Yes.
Deep. Can you say that again, please?
It is essential, yeah, that we realign, or let me put it in terms where some of us might fully overstand. You do a Sankofa, right? That means to say you look back there to see what your ancestors were doing and you bring it into today.
There you go.
Yeah? Because that kept them in good check.
Yes.
And it would keep us in good check. If we follow through. We're the only nation that doesn't connect with our ancestors because we're following everybody else's culture. Yeah. We dash their own culture. But meanwhile, guess what? Those people then are going back to Ghana and all them countries there, and they're looking at our culture. And our people out there are happy to teach them and show them our culture. Yeah. And it's like, now you've got them dressing up in kente cloth and all them things there. And I'm saying, what?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
So these piece we upon him, Dale Jones, the war correspondent, he said these are cultural bandits.
Yes.
These are cultural bandits. They've got in their teeth your culture.
Yeah.
But what with the missing link? Well, they may have it. They may have got it from our people because they probably pay our money. Because people seems to be desperate in a rich, wealthy nation, yeah, that produces everything, but yet they're poor because of the system and the corruption.
Yeah.
But you know, they compromise themselves for money and give away certain knowledge which we, the diasporan children, them supposed to get that.
Right.
But you know, the whole system's been so twisted that the religion, because they got the white Jesus, they think that all white men are somehow related to Jesus, so therefore we can't give them, you know, with culture and get our money.
Yep.
And nice, it's nuts.
Yep.
It's absolutely crazy.
But perhaps.
You know?
Perhaps
yeah.
that's why we were put into a trance, because we do love to give away all of our things. We love to share our toys with everybody else. So maybe that's why we had to be lulled to sleep for a little while, so that when Aquarius comes, which is upon us now, we can literally burst into our greatness, which is what is about to happen.
Exactly. Word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in relation to, I'm going to go back to this topic. Yeah, we have got, not really. But anyway, so boom. So I'm going to take you down to a journey of an individual who basically crossed over. But like I said, this is preparation for accelerating to a higher realm. So there's things that we need to let go of on this side in order to be able to maximize when we transition, so that we're not at a low vibration. So we take this individual, this case study, as reported by Arthur Ford, and he says, today we look at the case of a person who has everything to live for, but begins taking drugs and loses interest in those about him, that he eventually takes his life. This life, which was given to him by the Most High, was not, of course, his to take, but his mind was so befuddled that the sacredcy realized that he was quenching the spark, and as he awakens here in the spiritual realm, still in a drug state, and begins to search for another shot of morphine, or looks about for a pusher from whom to buy whichever drug was his favorite. And he sees many souls smiling about that level, but none seems to know where he will be able to buy some dope. Some look at him pitifully, and some others are indifferent to his needs, as many on the physical plane would have been. For this is a lowly crossover point where only earthbound souls are foregathered. His search impels him to rush frantically about, so doped up in his mind that he is not even aware that he is no longer in fleshly garb. His spirit craves the drugs as overwhelmingly as his physical body would have done, and he flings himself on the ground and claws the turf with his fingernails for the thought form. So for in the thought form, these are real to him as in the physical form. He whispers, begs and weeps. He will have no drugs or his sanity will leave him, he firmly believes. Then he begins to rail at God, at the Most High, screaming, there is no mercy in the spirit state.
Yeah.
There is no mercy. And he's totally drugged as in the physical, and a complete addict who cares nothing for self or others, but only for release from suffering by means of drugs. At last, he falls into torpor, and torpor is like a sleep, and this may last for months or eons. For the destruction of his mind and awakening of the physical forces in the earth state have diseased his soul mind, that he is unfit for spiritual growth for a long time. In some instances, he may sleep for hundreds of years, totally unaware of his surroundings. By the time he eventually begins to stir, there's no one left on earth in the physical form who he would recognize. The newly arrived souls around him have no awareness of him or his identity. He is indeed a lost soul, for he knows no one and has no inkling of his state. Those whom he once loved or knew have long since advanced to higher levels, or have once again incarnated into physical body under new names and identities. He seems lost to all help in his lethargy, and may continue for a long time after he awakens from his drugged sleep. For there is no one around who arouses a spark of interest from him. His apathy repels anyone who would advance to help him. He gives forth no light or spark, and is withdrawn within himself. This conclusion may again last dozens of hundreds of years, until at last he cries out to the Most High to help him. And then the Most High hears him, and he would have heard the faintest murmur hundreds of years before if he had pled for freedom from the suffering, had he uttered the word of the Most High to help him. But the effort must come from within each of us. The Most High awaits until our own needs, waits until our own needs brings us to the feet of the Most High. Immediately, all souls gather around him, and he's lifted up and taken to a sanitarium where others of like condition are already undergoing treatment. Some are being soothed from withdrawal symptoms because they immediately called on the Most High for assistance. Some, like this man, have slept for eons and are no longer have withdrawal pangs, but need assistance in taking up their life again. They need to be reawakened to the spiritual spark within, and then nurtured and taught once again that all of us are God. At last, the man begins to respond to treatment and to grow again in grace and strength, understanding at last why he was unable to reach out to the Most High. He was so drugged that his higher self slept. He vows never again to be tempted by anything which affects his mental range, and before he again volunteers for earthly rebirth, he strengthens this vow by offering to work among those who are disorientated and discarnated and diseased in mind and spirit. That's taken from The World Beyond, Ruth Montgomery's book. And I find that story is very, very, when I read it, it touched me, because I'm thinking, yeah, man, all these alcoholics and drug addicts, and this is what they face when they cross over.
Yeah.
You know? And it touched my soul, and when things touch my soul, I know it's real. Yeah. I don't know how it resonated with you, and I'd love to know how it's resonated with some of the listeners. Do you know what I mean? But I could feel this to be the case.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. It's it's a sad situation, because oftentimes, what is it that causes them to pick up the drugs or the alcohol in the first place?
It's societal pressure.
There you go. The running away from
They're taken outside of themselves and dealing with externalities, as opposed to looking within themselves where the power resides.
There you go. There you go. And look, look, all we do, and it's so true, all we do really have to do is ask for help. We do have to just cry out. We are given, I get what I ask for.
Yes, because you're in tune.
Yeah.
You're in tune with your higher self.
Yeah.
You know?
But, there's a couple that I recently learned about who were very strong drug addicts,
Mm-hmm.
and there must have come a point for both of them when they decided this is it, enough is enough, and they called on their God, and now they are living very lucratively with a drug rehabilitation center in another country, being able to do retreats and have people come over. This is our brothers and sisters.
Wonderful.
No
Excellent.
matter how low you get,
Mm-hmm.
there comes a time when you can always turn around and say, help me.
But it's good when you do that, because at least you're not, what they say, you're not too proud to beg. You know what I mean? You're not too proud to ask.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean, in life it's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah? Look, I have to use the bad man as an example, because the bad man will say, yeah man, no man can run with me, call me big, call me bad. But as time goes by, there's a badder man coming up.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Always.
And your badness is now being put in check because a youth will come up who's probably got more muscle than you and younger than you and will knock you out in a hot minute.
That's
so
it.
you know what I mean? So it's like there is no viability in saying you're bad. If you defend yourself, yes, if somebody tries to trouble you, but you know what I mean? Why do you want to go around and call yourself a bad man? Bad man ends up being a sad man because, you know what I mean, eventually that badness fades away, your body starts to wither.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't maintain that badness no more.
That's it, you can't, it's temporary.
You know?
It's as temporary as life itself. My brother, I have to end the conversation there.
What?
We have
time gone already?
No.
Oh no. Oh no. And I had one more to give you from the Buddhist side of things, you know. Do you think I can squeeze it in?
Well, we've literally got 2 minutes, so no.
Okay, all right.
Will you come and play with me again?
You might, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We just scratch the surface.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going in and we're doing this properly. So, brother, if anybody needed to contact you following today's conversation, where would they get you?
They can go to my website. All the W's, Cancerbush, CANCERBUSH.org.uk. You can have a look around the shop, and also my numbers are there, so you can holler at me that way too.
Perfect. Okay. Cancerbush.co.uk.
No, .org.
.org. Sorry. Cancerbush.org. Okay. Brother, I'm going to put some music on just to play us out, but please stay on the line and I'll just have a quick conversation with you.